You're listening to Echoes of Tomorrow Audiobooks. At 12:18 p.m., the world ended. Not with a warning, not with a storm, just one alert. 6 hours remain. For Caleb, Lily, and their parents, a small town in Western Canada becomes the stage for the unimaginable. Tremors shake the streets, the sky bruises purple, and every choice, every moment matters.
Chapter 1. Hour 6 to Hour 5. At 12:17 p.m., the world was still arguing about lunch. By 12:18, it was over. The alert came without warning, not the usual amber notification chime, not a weather advisory, not an emergency test. Every phone, every television, every radio frequency. One tone, long, unbroken, metallic. Caleb Mercer felt it in his chest before he understood it. He was in the living room, controller in hand, half listening to Lily complain about spawn camping. Their father was in the kitchen, rinsing coffee from his mug. Their mother was folding laundry on the armchair by the window. The sound cut through the house like something alive. Then the message appeared. Global emergency broadcast. Impact event confirmed. Estimated time, 6 hours. At first, no one moved. Caleb laughed. Impact event? What is that, like a meteor shower? No one answered. The television turned itself on. Static. Then a face, pale, tight-lipped, an astronomer Caleb had seen once on a documentary. The caption beneath him read, Planetary Defense Coordination Office. The man swallowed. A rogue planetary mass previously obscured by solar interference has altered trajectory. It is now on a direct collision course with Earth. There is no viable deflection window. Behind him, someone was crying. There will be significant global seismic disruption prior to atmospheric breach. The screen glitched. Estimated time to impact, 6 hours. The feed died. For 3 seconds, there was only the hum of the refrigerator. Then Lily spoke. Daddy? Their father didn't answer. He was staring at the window. Caleb turned toward the glass, too, and felt something inside him shift. The sky was wrong. Not dark, not cloudy. Wrong. The winter blue above their small town had begun to stain, a faint violet halo bleeding outward from the sun, like a bruise spreading under skin. That's fake, Caleb said quickly. It has to be fake. His mother reached for her phone. No signal. Their father grabbed the remote. Every channel showed the same emergency banner. Outside, a car alarm began to scream, then another, then dozens. The sound built in layers, metallic panic echoing through quiet suburban streets. Lily walked slowly toward the window. Why does it look like that? No one answered her. The second tremor hit at 12:41. It wasn't violent, just enough to rattle the picture frames and send a glass slipping from the kitchen counter. It shattered on the tile. That was the moment Caleb stopped pretending. His father moved first. Basement, he said. They gathered without speaking. Caleb noticed strange things, the way his mother grabbed photo albums before she grabbed water, the way his father hesitated at the breaker panel as if electricity would still matter in 6 hours. The basement smelled like dust and old cardboard. Caleb's phone buzzed once before dying completely. A final message from his best friend, Noah. Bro, is this real? He didn't have time to answer. The third tremor was stronger. Upstairs, something heavy crashed. Lily covered her ears. Make it stop, she whispered.
Caleb sat beside her on the cold cement floor. He didn't know what to say. He'd imagined the end of the world before. Everyone had. Movies, games, explosions, fire. Not this. Not waiting. Not knowing the exact number of minutes left. Their father's voice was steady, but too steady. Okay, we stay calm, we conserve water, we... A sound interrupted him. Low, deep, like distant thunder, except the sky was clear. The sound didn't roll away. It grew. Caleb felt it in his ribs again, that metallic vibration from earlier, only heavier now. The house creaked. Dust filtered from the ceiling beams. "What is that?" Lily cried. Their mother closed her eyes. "That," she whispered, "is the atmosphere reacting." Another tremor, stronger. Somewhere down the street, a transformer exploded with a sharp blue flash. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out. Silence followed, an unnatural, suffocating silence, as if the town itself had stopped breathing. No cars, no voices, no distant highway hum. Just wind. Caleb realized something then. There would be no rescue, no sirens, no military convoy sweeping through small towns in British Columbia to collect ordinary families like theirs. This wasn't a movie theater. There were no main characters, just people. 6 hours of people. His father exhaled slowly. "We're going upstairs." "Why?" Caleb asked. His father looked at him, really looked at him, as if memorizing his face. "Because if the world is ending," he said quietly, "we're not spending it in the basement." They climbed back into the gray daylight. The sky had deepened in color, the violet now threaded with streaks of burning gold, like cracks forming across glass. Far above, barely visible unless you knew where to look, was a distortion, a shadow against the sun. Too large, too solid. Caleb felt his throat close. It wasn't abstract anymore. It was real. Lily reached for his hand. "Are we going to die?" He wanted to lie. He wanted to give her something heroic and brave and older brother strong. Instead, his voice broke. "I don't know." Their father wrapped an arm around all of them. The wind picked up suddenly, sharp, unnatural gusts that bent the tops of pine trees and sent loose trash spiraling down the street. In the distance, a dog howled. Then another. Phones were dead. Power was gone. The world had narrowed to 4 people standing in a driveway beneath a dying sky. Caleb checked his watch. 1:02 p.m. 5 hours left. And for the first time in his 15 years of life, time didn't feel endless. It felt violent.
Chapter 2, Hour 5 to Hour 4. The World Unravels. By 1:14 p.m., the town was screaming. Not all at once, in pieces. A car engine revving too hard. A woman shouting someone's name down the street. A dog barking until its voice cracked. The Mercer driveway no longer felt like safety. It felt exposed. Caleb stood frozen, staring at the sky. The distortion near the sun had grown darker, no longer a trick of light. It had shape now, mass, something enormous pressing against the thin blue membrane of the atmosphere. Another tremor rolled beneath their feet, stronger. A crack split the pavement across the road like a jagged scar. Lily screamed and grabbed their mother's coat. "We're leaving," their father said suddenly. It wasn't a discussion.
They piled into the SUV without a plan, just instinct. Engines were starting all over town, doors slamming, tires peeling out too fast. The radio was dead. Caleb pulled out his phone again, even though he knew it wouldn't work. No signal. They turned toward the highway. They made it 3 blocks. Traffic had already swallowed the road. Cars bumper to bumper, horns blaring, a man outside his truck shouting at no one, a woman pounding her steering wheel with both fists. Overhead, a military jet screamed across the sky. Low, too low. The sound was violent, tearing through the air like fabric ripping. Lily flinched. "Are they going to fix it?" she asked. No one answered. The tremor that followed wasn't subtle. It was a jolt. Cars bounced. A streetlight snapped and collapsed across the intersection. Someone screamed. A child cried somewhere in the gridlock. And then the sky made a sound. Not thunder, not wind. A deep, rolling concussion that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Caleb felt it in his teeth. People began abandoning their vehicles. Doors swung open, engines left running. A man shoved past their SUV, sprinting back toward town. Another dropped to his knees in the middle of the road, hands clasped over his head. "This isn't working," their father muttered. He reversed slowly, navigating around stalled cars, side mirrors clipping as drivers shouted at him. They didn't make it far before smoke appeared above the grocery store near Main Street. Black, thick, rising fast. As they passed, Caleb saw the front windows shattered. People were running out carrying armfuls of bottled water. Someone tripped. The water exploded across the pavement. 2 men began fighting over what remained. It looked unreal, like a movie filmed in their town. But the fear was real, raw, unfiltered. "Stop looking," his mother whispered, but Caleb couldn't. A police cruiser screeched into the lot. The officer stepped out, then froze as another tremor buckled the asphalt beneath him. The ground was no longer stable. Nothing was. They turned down a side street to avoid the chaos. That's when they saw Mrs. Halverson, 83 years old, widowed. She was standing in her front yard, clutching a cordless phone, staring up at the sky. Their father slowed. For a split second, Caleb thought they were going to keep driving. Instead, the SUV stopped. "I'll be right back," his father said. He stepped out. Another rumble rolled overhead, louder now, closer. The violet sky pulsed faintly, streaked with veins of burning gold. Caleb watched through the windshield as his father spoke gently to Mrs. Halverson. She shook her head over and over. "No shelters," his father said. Her knees buckled. His father caught her before she hit the ground. "Mom," Caleb whispered, "we can't take everyone." His mother's eyes were glassy. "I know." They helped Mrs. Halverson into the back seat. The SUV felt smaller now, more fragile. As they drove back toward their house, sirens wailed in every direction, not coordinated, not organized, just noise. A gas station canopy collapsed 2 streets over with a metallic scream. The sky darkened another shade. At 1:38 p.m., every remaining traffic light went black. At 1:41, the cell towers finally died. Complete signal loss. The modern world ended quietly. When they pulled into their driveway again, Caleb checked his watch. 2:02 p.m. 4 hours left. The number didn't feel real. Inside the house, the walls trembled intermittently, like they were breathing wrong. Mrs. Halverson sat at the kitchen table, staring at her trembling hands. "I was alive for the moon landing, and now this." No one knew what to say to that. Another deep atmospheric boom rolled across the town. The windows rattled violently. Lily began to cry again, not loudly, just steady. Caleb knelt in front of her. "It's going to be okay," he said automatically. The words felt empty the second they left his mouth. Across the street, shouting erupted. Caleb moved to the window. Two neighbors were arguing in the driveway. One had a shotgun, the other was pointing toward the hills as if direction still mattered. The argument ended abruptly when a violent tremor knocked both men off their feet. Somewhere in the distance, something exploded. Not a sharp blast, a heavy structural collapse. The sky flickered, not lightning, something else, like the upper atmosphere was tearing. Their father stood in the center of the living room, turning slowly, as if trying to anchor himself to something solid. "There's nowhere to go," he said finally. It wasn't defeat, it was clarity. Caleb felt it settle into him, heavy and cold. No highway escape, no bunker, no convoy, no last-minute miracle. Just 4 hours, 4 shrinking, fragile hours. Another shockwave rippled overhead, this one strong enough to knock books from the shelves. Mrs. Halverson gasped. The power, which had flickered weakly back to life once, died again, this time with a sharp popping sound from somewhere inside the walls. And then the house fell into a silence so complete it felt underwater. No refrigerator hum, no distant traffic, no electricity in any town. Only the sound of the wind, harsher now, and the low, constant vibration from the sky. Caleb stepped outside alone. The air felt heavier, pressure building. The distortion near the sun was unmistakable now, a massive shadow swallowing light. Its edges glowed faintly, friction igniting the upper atmosphere in streaks of fire. It was closer, much closer. For the first time, Caleb understood scale. This wasn't something hitting the planet. This was something ending it. He felt suddenly violently small. Behind him, the front door creaked open. His father joined him on the porch. Across town, smoke columns rose in multiple places now. Sirens had stopped. Even panic was running out of energy. Caleb swallowed. "Dad? Yes? Is there any chance?" His father didn't lie. No. The word landed like a final verdict. Another tremor shook the earth beneath them, stronger than all the rest. A crack splintered through their driveway. Somewhere nearby, a house alarm wailed and then cut out mid-scream. Caleb checked his watch again. 2:17 p.m. 4 hours, and the sky was no longer just changing, it was descending.
Chapter 3. Hour 4 to Hour 3. Control is an illusion. By 2:26 p.m., the sky no longer looked like Earth. The blue was gone entirely. What remained was a violent canvas of bruised violet and molten gold, streaked with luminous fractures that pulsed like veins beneath skin. The air itself shimmered faintly, distorting the edges of rooftops and trees. Caleb could see it clearly now, not just shadow, not just distortion, mass, an impossible curvature pressing against the sun, eclipsing it in slow, monstrous increments. It was no longer something scientists described, it was something you could point at, and that made it worse. Inside the house, the tremors came every few minutes now, rhythmic, like the planet had developed a failing heartbeat. Mrs. Halverson sat quietly on the couch, whispering something Caleb couldn't hear. Prayer, maybe, or memory. Their mother moved through the house with strange calm, gathering small things. A photo frame, a faded drawing Lily had made in 3rd grade, a seashell from a trip to Vancouver Island. Objects had become anchors. Their father stood at the kitchen counter, staring at a map that no longer mattered. "There's the lake," he said finally. Caleb looked up. The lake was a 10-minute drive outside town. They'd spent summers there, fishing, skipping rocks, arguing over sunscreen. "Why?" asked Caleb. His father folded the map slowly.
because I don't want the last thing you see to be smoke." No one argued. They left Mrs. Halverson wrapped in blankets on the couch. She refused to come. "I was born in this house," she said gently. "I'll finish in it." Their mother kissed her forehead. No one said goodbye out loud. The drive was different this time, quieter. Most cars were gone from the streets now, abandoned or wrecked. A few still moved aimlessly. One had collided head-on with a telephone pole that had snapped clean in half. The town looked hollowed, windows shattered, storefronts gutted. No sirens anymore. Even panic had limits. Halfway to the lake, the fourth major quake hit. It threw the SUV sideways. Caleb heard Lily scream from the back seat as the tires skidded across fractured asphalt. A fissure split the road just ahead of them, jagged and smoking faintly. Their father fought the steering wheel and managed to stop inches from the brake. They sat there, breathing hard. Above them, the sky roared, not thunder, not wind, a sustained atmospheric groan, as if something colossal was forcing its way through layers never meant to be disturbed. The lake came into view minutes later, still, wide, reflecting the broken sky like a mirror. They stepped out into air that felt electrically charged. The wind had shifted, no longer cold, but restless, uneven gusts pushing in conflicting directions. The water trembled, not with waves, with vibration. Caleb walked to the edge of the shore. He remembered learning to swim here, remembered his dad pretending to let him drown before pulling him up laughing, remembered Lily building crooked sand castles near the reeds. It looked smaller now. Everything did. Behind him, Lily asked the question no one had answered. "What does it feel like?" Their mother knelt in front of her. "What does what feel like, sweetheart?" "Dying." The word hung in the air, untouched. Their father turned away toward the horizon. Caleb swallowed. "I don't know," he said quietly. That was the truth. Another atmospheric concussion rolled overhead, closer now. The lake's surface rippled violently outward in concentric circles. Far across the waterline, trees began to sway in unnatural rhythm, not wind-driven, but gravitationally disturbed. The celestial body had grown. It now occupied a visible arc of the sky, a dark curve edged in burning light. Caleb felt dizzy looking at it. The scale defied comprehension. "How can something that big even exist?" he whispered. His father answered without looking at him. "It doesn't care if we understand it." That was the moment Caleb felt it, the final illusion breaking. Humans were not in control. Not governments, not scientists, not fathers. They were passengers on a fragile sphere, and something older and larger had chosen its path. A new sound emerged, high, metallic, shrieking faintly at the edges of hearing. Caleb covered his ears. "What is that?" "The atmosphere," said her mother softly. "It's compressing." Across the horizon, a distant forest line suddenly dipped downward, as if pressed downward by an invisible hand, then rebounded. Seconds later, the shock wave hit them. The ground buckled. Caleb fell to one knee. The lake erupted into chaotic waves that crashed violently against the shore. Somewhere behind them, a transformer exploded in a burst of green flame. Birds lifted from the trees in frantic spirals, then scattered in every direction. When the shaking stopped, the silence that followed felt wrong, heavy. Caleb realized he was breathing too fast. He looked at his watch. 3:03 p.m. 3 hours left. The number hit differently now. It wasn't abstract anymore. It was measurable, finite. Lily stood beside him, gripping his sleeve. "Caleb?" "Yeah?" "I'm scared." He didn't try to be brave this time. "Me too." Their parents moved closer, forming a loose circle near the shoreline. No speeches, no grand declarations, just proximity. The sky flickered again, brighter this time. A streak of fire tore across the upper atmosphere, trailing smoke that lingered unnaturally long. Debris. Something had broken apart, or something had begun to. Far in the distance, miles away, a vertical column of dust rose suddenly into the air. Then another, then another. Caleb understood without being told. Other cities, other towns. The planet was destabilizing. It wasn't waiting for impact anymore. It was reacting. Their father placed a hand on Caleb's shoulder. "Listen to me," he said quietly. "Whatever happens next, we stay together." Caleb nodded. He looked back out across the lake one more time. The reflection staring back at him wasn't the sky he grew up under. It was fractured, burning, closing in. The air pressure shifted suddenly, ears popping violently. Lily winced and grabbed her head. The sound in the sky deepened again, louder than before, closer. Caleb could feel the vibration inside his bones now. 3 hours. He had lived 15 years thinking time stretched endlessly ahead of him. Now it felt like a cliff edge, and the ground beneath it was cracking. Behind them, the town's siren, silent for nearly an hour, let out one final broken wail. Then it died.
Chapter 4. Hour 3 to Hour 2. Regret has weight. By 3:12 p.m., the sky no longer felt distant. It felt low, oppressive. The massive curvature above them had grown so large it distorted perspective. The sun was nearly swallowed now, reduced to a violent crescent of white fire along the edge of something impossibly vast. The lake no longer reflected blue or violet, it reflected flame. The ground trembled in uneven pulses, like something below the crust was shifting its shoulders. Caleb felt a headache building behind his eyes, a pressure that wouldn't release. "We should go back," his mother said quietly. No one asked why. They all understood. If the world was ending, it wouldn't end at the shoreline. It would end where their lives had happened. The drive home was slower. The air itself felt thicker, harder to push through. Ash drifted faintly now, though nothing nearby was burning. It was falling from somewhere else, somewhere beyond the horizon. As they entered town, Caleb noticed how still everything had become. No more shouting, no more car horns. Most vehicles sat abandoned at strange angles. A few houses had partially collapsed, windows shattered outward, not inward. A power pole lay across Main Street like a fallen matchstick, and everywhere, the sky dominated. It filled half of it now. The celestial body's surface was faintly visible, not smooth but textured, scarred, lit by violent arcs of atmospheric friction. It was beautiful, in the way wildfires are beautiful, in the way destruction can be. When they pulled into their driveway, the house looked smaller than Caleb remembered, fragile, temporary. They stepped inside. The living room lamp had fallen. A crack split the ceiling corner to corner. Books lay scattered across the floor. Mrs. Halverson was gone. For a moment Caleb's chest seized. Then his mother found her, upstairs, in her own bedroom, lying peacefully atop the covers. Still, no trauma, no blood, just stillness. "She had a weak heart," his father whispered. The house creaked around them. The world hadn't even needed to finish her. Caleb stood in the doorway and felt something unfamiliar and heavy settle into him. Not fear, not panic, finality. They covered her gently. No ceremony, no time. Back downstairs, the tremors intensified, stronger now, closer together. The sound in the sky was constant, like a freight train that never passed. Lily stood in the center of the living room, staring at the family photos lining the wall. "Will anyone remember us?" she asked. The question cut deeper than the others. Their mother walked over slowly. "Yes," she said. "Who?" Silence. Their father sank into the armchair by the window. For the first time since this began, his composure broke. "I should have taken you camping more," he said suddenly. The words came out uneven. "I kept saying next summer, when work slowed down, when things settled." His voice cracked. Caleb had never seen his father cry, not when his own father died, not when money was tight, not when anything went wrong. Now his shoulders shook quietly. "I thought I had time." The room seemed to shrink around them. Caleb felt something rise in his throat, something hot and sharp. "I'm sorry, too," he said before he could stop himself. Everyone looked at him. "I wasted so much time. I was mad at you for stupid things. I ignored Lily. His voice failed. Lily walked over and hugged him around the waist. "You didn't waste it," she said. He closed his eyes. He had. He'd assumed tomorrow was guaranteed. Their mother sat beside their father and took his hand. "I was always afraid of this," she admitted softly. "Afraid of what?" Caleb asked. "Not having enough time to say everything." Another violent tremor shook the house. The kitchen cabinets burst open, dishes crashing to the floor. Dust rained from the ceiling. The sky outside pulsed brighter. For a brief moment, gravity shifted, subtle but undeniable. A picture frame slid upward along the wall before falling back down. Lily gasped. "What was that?" Their father stood slowly. "It's getting closer." Outside, a distant structure collapsed with a roar that echoed across town. The lake in the distance surged upward unnaturally, as if pulled. Caleb walked toward the front window. The celestial body now consumed more than half of the sky. Its lower edge glowed white-hot. Pieces of debris streaked past it, burning away in brilliant arcs. He realized something else. The air was warmer. Not summer warm, but rising. The planet was reacting. He pressed his forehead against the cool glass. "Dad?" "Yes?" "Were we good?" The question surprised even him. His father didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Even when I wasn't?" "Yes." The simplicity of it broke something inside Caleb. Behind him, Lily spoke again, small, careful. "Are we going to see each other after?" Their mother pulled her into her lap. "I don't know," she whispered honestly. "But if there's anything after, we'll find each other." The house groaned violently. A deep crack split the foundation somewhere beneath them. The sound from the sky intensified into something almost unbearable, a layered roar like continents grinding together. Caleb checked his watch. 4:01 p.m. 2 hours.
The number didn't shock him anymore. It felt expected. They gathered in the center of the living room. No television, no phones, no distractions left. Just breath, just presence. Outside, the light shifted again, from violet and gold to something almost white, blinding at the edges. The wind rose into a sustained howl that bent trees nearly sideways. Lily buried her face in Caleb's chest. "Tell me something normal," she whispered. He thought for a moment. "You still owe me $5, he said quietly. She gave a tiny, broken laugh. The sound was fragile, but it was real, and for a brief second, in a collapsing world, that was enough. Another atmospheric concussion hit, closer than all the rest. The windows shattered inward. Glass exploded across the floor. The house trembled violently. Somewhere nearby, a structure gave way completely. Dust filled the air. Caleb pulled Lily down instinctively as debris rained from the ceiling. When the shaking stopped, the sky outside had changed again. It was no longer descending, it was looming. The celestial body now dominated everything. It no longer felt like something approaching, it felt like something already here.
Their father stood slowly amid broken glass and whispered the truth none of them had spoken aloud. "It's almost time." Caleb looked at his watch one more time. 4:13 p.m. 2 hours left, and the sky was burning. Chapter 5. Hour 2 to Hour 1. The sky is falling. By 4:14 p.m., the world had changed completely. The sky was no longer a sky. It was a molten canvas of violet, gold, and white-hot streaks stretching from horizon to horizon. Clouds had become irrelevant. Even the sun, partially swallowed by the celestial mass, was just a sliver of ordinary light in an extraordinary apocalypse. The ground beneath their feet vibrated constantly, subtle at first, then like a drumbeat of a planet tearing itself apart. Every tremor shook their lungs. Every gust of wind threatened to lift them from their feet. Caleb, Lily, and their parents stepped outside the house. The street was empty now, except for a few desperate shadows fleeing from nowhere. "Dad," Lily's voice quivered, "it's bigger than everything." He didn't answer. There was nothing to say. Words had left the planet long ago. The family walked slowly toward the open field beyond their yard, their feet pressed against cracked asphalt and debris. Broken tree limbs, twisted street signs, and overturned cars littered the path. The wind carried a metallic taste, like iron and smoke, and the smell of dust and ozone stung their nostrils. At the edge of the field, the lake gleamed faintly in the distance. Even from here, it seemed tiny, like a memory trapped in glass. Caleb knelt, running a hand through the grass. It didn't feel real. Nothing did. The world had become a painting too large for comprehension. A distant explosion rattled the horizon. Trees bent and snapped under forces unseen. Birds circled frantically, screaming. Caleb clutched Caleb's hand. Are we going to die?" He wanted to lie, to say yes, no, something that would make her feel safe, but he couldn't. "I don't know," he said quietly. His mother knelt beside Lily. "We will be together. That's what matters." He realized then what his father had meant earlier. Survival didn't matter anymore. Only presence, only being together in these final hours. The ground trembled again, harder this time. He staggered, gripping the edge of the field to stay upright. "Look," his father whispered. Caleb turned. The celestial body now consumed nearly the entire sky. Its surface pulsed violently, arcs of molten light running along its curvature like veins of fire. Small fragments, meteoroids perhaps, burned as they fell, streaking toward Earth in random arcs. The air shimmered, gravity felt uneven, each breath was heavier than the last. The sound from the sky was deafening, low, metallic, constant, a vibration inside bones, teeth, and skull. It wasn't wind, it wasn't thunder, it was the sound of the planet itself responding. Lily buried her face against her mother's chest. "I don't want to die," she whispered. Her voice was swallowed immediately by another tremor. Caleb wrapped his arms around her, pressing himself against her small frame. The family stood together, rooted in the earth that was giving way beneath them. The wind tore at their clothes. Dust and debris whipped across their faces. A distant fireball streaked past the horizon. Caleb looked up and noticed the edges of the celestial body glowing brighter, white-hot now, the light searing the sky. Heat rose in waves, distorting the air. It wasn't just visible, it was tangible, pressing down on them, crushing them with the awareness of their impending fate. His mother reached into her pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside were photographs, family memories, moments she wanted preserved even if no one remained to see them. She handed it to Caleb. "Take care of this," she said. He nodded silently. No words felt sufficient. Another tremor rocked the field. Rocks skittered across the ground. The lake shivered in response, its surface rippling unnaturally. The family stumbled but held each other tight. Caleb realized something profound. It didn't matter how much chaos raged around them, or how vast and unstoppable the destruction was. Time itself had shrunk into these moments, and if the world was ending, it would not be in explosions or fire. It would be in the absence of everything they knew, leaving only what they carried in their hearts. He knelt beside Lily. "Remember the treehouse?" he asked. She sniffled, nodding. "We and I built it together. We didn't finish the ladder, but it was ours, and we climbed it anyway. That's what matters. That's what counts." Lily smiled faintly through tears. The sound from the sky deepened, a continuous roar now, layered with high-pitched shrieks and deep metallic groans. The ground shook violently. A nearby tree snapped, crashing to the earth, sending a cloud of dust and splinters into the air. Caleb's father took a deep breath. "1 hour left," he said. His voice was steady but small. He looked at each of them, Lily, Caleb, and their mother, and for the first time there was no pretense, no plans, no instructions, only presence. The world wasn't coming back. It didn't need to. It was already gone, and all they could do was stand together. Caleb felt the vibration through his chest, up through his throat. The heat pressed against his skin. The sky pulsed brighter and hotter with every second. He realized then that fear had no scale, that no one could measure terror accurately when the planet itself was ending. But love was tangible, immediate, anchoring. Caleb held Lily's hand tighter, felt his mother's grip on his arm, heard his father's heartbeat near him. The final hour had begun.
Chapter 6. Hour 1 to Impact. Love outlives time. By 4:14 p.m., the world had become something unrecognizable. The celestial body now dominated the sky, an enormous molten curve, burning white-hot along its edges, pulsing like a heartbeat only they could feel. The light seared their eyes even through the faintest blink. The horizon was fractured. The clouds, the sky, the sun, all were distorted reflections of a planet that was no longer whole. Wind tore at them with relentless force, lifting dust, ash, and debris. The ground vibrated underfoot with constant tremors, rising and falling like the chest of something gargantuan breathing beneath the crust. Caleb led the family to the open field beyond their yard, the same one they had returned to before. No vehicles, no sirens, no signs of life anywhere else, only the four of them. The world had shrunk down to them. Lily clung to him. "We're going to die," she whispered. His mother knelt in front of Lily, cradling her small face in her hands. "No matter what happens, we're here. We have each other. That's all that counts." The air shimmered with heat. The light from the celestial body burned brighter, making the entire field glow as if a second sun had risen. Trees bent violently in the gusts. Rocks skittered across the dirt. The lake nearby vibrated with unnatural waves, each ripple responding to forces they could barely comprehend. Time compressed. Every second felt heavier than the last. Caleb held Lily's hand tightly. He could feel her small heart beating against his palm. Her breath was uneven. His mother leaned her head on his father's shoulder. "I'm glad it's you," she whispered. His father's hand rested on the back of Caleb's neck. "We're together. That's all we need." A massive shockwave rolled across the field. Trees snapped like twigs. The lake surged violently, sloshing off its banks in unnatural arcs. The wind screamed. Heat pressed against their skin. Caleb realized then that the world was no longer a planet they could influence.
There were no more choices, no control. There was only presence. Lily whispered again, "It's warm." Her words cut through the roar. Caleb held her closer. "Yes," he said, "it is warm. We're together." The light flared violently, brighter than the eye could bear. The celestial body loomed directly above, filling every corner of vision. Tiny fragments, meteoroids or debris, burned through the atmosphere, streaking past them in fiery arcs. Caleb's father bent slightly, steadying himself against the wind. "I love you," he said quietly, almost as if repeating it for himself. His mother echoed it. "We love you both." The roar of the world was deafening now. The air itself vibrated. They pressed closer together. Caleb held Lily in front of him, his mother's arm around his shoulder, his father behind them. 4 bodies became one anchor against the end of everything. Another tremor, a deafening, ground-shaking boom. The earth seemed to tilt slightly beneath them. Caleb closed his eyes. He thought of everything he hadn't said, every fight, every unspoken apology, every missed moment, and somehow it didn't matter. They were here, together, alive in these final seconds. The world shimmered brighter, heat pressed harder, the wind shrieked in agony. The celestial body's curve now filled their entire field of vision. Caleb felt the vibration inside his chest, rattling his bones. He heard a low metallic screech in his ears. Time stretched, then slowed, then stopped. In the final moments, everything contracted to a single point: warmth, hands, breath, presence. Lily whispered again, "I'm not scared." "You're brave," Caleb said softly. The light grew white, overwhelming, beyond comprehension. He felt it, the end, but not as fire, not as pain, not as chaos, as love. The last warmth, the last heartbeat, the last togetherness. Then silence. No wind, no tremor, no sound. Only absence, only presence remembered. The last hour had passed. The world no longer existed. But for the Mercer family, in their final embrace, they had been infinite. If this story pulled you into the future, don't let the signal end here. Subscribe to Echoes of Tomorrow Audiobooks for more immersive sci-fi, suspense, and original audio stories from the edge of reality. Leave a comment below and tell me what part of this story stayed with you. Like, share, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next pulse-pounding story. Until next time, stay curious. The future is already whispering.